Monday, which is very unusual of me, I know. Typically, we're trying to do these things on Tuesdays, but I'm very sorry, I have to do it on a Monday today. Reason being is I am taking X10 for more inoculations tomorrow, and so she's probably not going to be very good tomorrow night. With that in mind, who have we got here? We've got Dragoneye with the first. Good, congratulations, Dragoneye. Well done. You can bank that one later. We've got Alter Ego. Holy Seraphimon. How's it going? It's not too bad, thank you very much. And presumably there's an ad running for all of those just joining. Tonight I wanted to talk about clipboard manipulation. Now this is an unusual thing. Oh, actually, announcements first. The jam is still going. OLC Code Jam 2021 is still happening. Go and rate some entries on the website. They're all over the Discord, everything. You can find the links, I'm sure. But there's only... it finishes on Friday. We'll know who's won on... Is it Friday or is it Sunday? I can't remember. Finishes this weekend, anyway. And I'm hoping that then I'll play some of the entries. I try not to play any of the entries publicly during the jam period because I don't want to influence the voting. Gruffler, hello. Alex, hello. Thank you, Alex, for posting the link there to the Code Jam, yes. So yes, unusually on a Monday night tonight, yes, personal circumstances have dictated that I won't be available tomorrow. I'm just going to have a mouthful of tea. It's been a long day. We have some ASMR Javid tea drinking there. People are paying money for that, I'm sure. Right, what have we got going on here? Because tonight I want to talk about clipboards, and it's come up a few times on the Discord, and you might think, oh, this isn't space thing, Javid. Well, it indirectly is, because I do envisage a bit of text editing requirements as part of the GUI framework. And a few episodes ago, I talked about actually building a text editor of some sort to sort of explore the complexity of it, and it's taken on a mind of its own now. So my text editor, some of you will have seen in a recent tweet, and some of you will have seen on the Discord server, is actually it's reasonably fully featured now. Let's have a look. Let's compile it and run it. See what happens. Mandmister, hello. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you very much. Christian Seiler, hello from Ch. Oh, now Ch could be all sorts of different places. It could be Switzerland, it could be Czechoslovakia, it could be China. Hef, hi Javid and chat. Well, it is kind of a space thing stream because I do want some text editing. Right, that's compiled. That's good. Let's have a look. Oh, it's very small. Maybe you can't even see that. Should I make the font a bit bigger? I think I'll make the font just a bit bigger so you can actually see what's going on. I'll just double up the pixel size. There we go. May have to make that a little smaller. Let's pick you. And 360 is definitely not going to fit on my monitor, so I'm going to pick 240 there. Now that means I'm going to have to change... Oh, it gets complicated, doesn't it? The number of visible lines, I'm going to change that to 24. There we go. And all will be revealed and explained in a minute. Right, so this is the text editor. It's a text editor. So we have a cursor, and I can scroll up and down with my mouse wheel. The cursor, I can move it left and right with the arrow keys, and I can move it up and down as well. The nice thing is it kind of acts like a text editor, right? So it remembers where your cursor was roughly in the text. It's also non-monospaced, so there's a monospaced alternative instead, and I can flick between the two by pressing the F1 key. Like most text editors, I also have cursor selections, so I can select a bit of text there, and I can select multi-line text. It's also got proper tabs, so you see tabs go pop, pop. There we go, instead of just filling up spaces. So it is reasonably complete text editor. Now let's enter some text. So I've pressed the enter key a few times. Tab, hello chat. So it just behaves as you'd expect. It has some limitations. It uses the Pixel game engine, obviously, and has a limited font sheet in the background, so not all characters are available, and that's caused some complexity. Anyway, by default, the file it loads is the source code for the text editor itself, which I think is quite an interesting way of testing it. Let's have a look. Kit Carson 3, hi, great surprise to see you on Twitch. Nice surprise, to be clear. Oh, well, thank you very much. I do Twitch usually on Tuesdays, but today is a bit unusual. We're doing it on a Monday. You can catch up with all of my previous Twitch streams. They're all sort of individual episodes. It's not just sort of me randomly chatting about junk. Definitely not that. So in the meantime, whilst I'm taking a little break from making YouTube videos, the streams are a nice way to just keep my hand in, keep going with what's going. Speaking of making videos, I do actually have one sort of in the pipeline, as it were. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I will find the time to finish that one off, which will be good. The font is very nice. The font is very nice, isn't it? That's the standard Pixel Game Engine font. But what I tend to do is I stretch it in the y-axis by 2. Which makes it takes on a completely different sort of look and feel, doesn't it? If I show you what the original font should look like, I'm hacking here, cheating, by setting the pixel size. There we go. So that's the standard sort of Pixel Game Engine font. But if you stretch it in the y-axis, I think it tends to look, it looks like a different font, which is quite nice. Anyway, other things to think about. So yes, pressing the Enter key does its thing. Backspace does its thing. So you can do. Delete doesn't do anything yet, nor does Insert. I'll get around to those sort of things. It's odd working on non-proportional spaced fonts. Because on here, if I press the up and down key, it does what you expect. And we're always programming with monospaced fonts. Every code editor, every text editor I ever use is all monospaced. So it was quite interesting to see how the cursor behaves when you work with a non-monospace font. Anyway, I thought it was interesting, and I find rather boring things quite interesting, so there we go. Yeah, Ch is Switzerland. That's what I thought, because I was buying some... I'm buying some bits and pieces for work. I buy motors from a company in Switzerland, and motor drivers as well. RHK, ahoy! Magetsup, yes, CodeZone today. A little bit of a change of schedule. I'm not going to be able to do CodeZone tomorrow. I've got to take X10 for even more vaccinations. In total, X10 will have had... by the end of tomorrow, she will have had 18 vaccinations, which is crazy, right? When you're only 3 months old. You think everybody that's had the COVID jab sort of felt a bit rough that afternoon. Imagine going and having 18 different vaccinations given to you. Pretty rough. Can you just turn around some time and look at the camera just to gradually get used to your new setup? Can you just turn around some time and look at the camera to gradually get used to your new setup? Oh, you mean, I have to look like that. Well, it might surprise you, Kit Carson, but I have actually been doing Twitch longer than I have been doing YouTube. Right, so what I wanted to do today, as it says in the title, is clipboard manipulation, because there's a few of us on the Discord server building sort of text-related things at the moment, and the clipboard came up, and I sort of rather foolishly threw out the idea, well, the clipboard is dead simple to do, isn't it? It's really easy on Windows, and it kind of is, and it kind of isn't. It's got some nastiness because it's got to interface with the WinAPI, and I've no idea how to do it on Linux. So I'm sorry, guys, if you're Linux users, I just don't know how to do it. But I thought it would also be entertaining because the Linux and the C purists, zealots, pedants, however you want to classify yourself, can look at some rather disgusting WinAPI code. So we'll have a look at that today too. I'm just going to double that back up so we can see what's going on. There we go. So what you'll see, Kit, sorry, I'm calling you Kit, like we've known each other for years. What you'll see, Kit, is that actually the streams are far less focused, far more relaxed, a lot more chat interaction. I don't know whether to talk through much of the text editor. I think a lot of it's fairly self-explanatory, but the thing to remember here is the important thing, which will be relevant for the clipboard stuff. Yes, you just set a string. So fundamentally, the text is stored as a string. Here. There we go, in this variable, ms text. That's quite zoomed in. But in order to do anything useful with it, us humans, we quite like it to be broken into lines. Just having one big long line of a program is inconvenient. So the first thing the application does is actually break that string up into lines. and then everything else after that is worked on in lines. So if we do want to change the text, it's actually changing it in line form, and that makes things a bit tricky. So that's why we need a cursor. And the cursor is basically an XY position in text space. So we've done sort of spatial transforms before. We've done things like world to screen and screen to world. And in much the same way, I have text to screen and screen to text. And it's a bit fiddlier to work out. There's no direct conversion because you've got to sort of, particularly with a proportional font, you don't know how far the X cursor has gone in from the left-hand side of the screen in text space. The only way you can do it is to nibble through the text all the way from the left and work out which character you sort of are around. So that can be a little bit more time consuming, whereas normally we just have some nice maths that would give the scaling and the offset. We can't do that in text space. Regardless, I imagine I'm not the only person in the world with that problem. I think all text editors have that same issue. So here I actually have two functions. One's called text to screen, and we pass in a text cursor. So you can imagine the in proportional mode. Let's just quickly power that back up again. In proportional mode, there is sort of a one-to-one relationship. All of my characters in this instance are 8 by 16 tiles, effectively. So I can sort of make that transformation quite easily. I don't. I use the same code to do it in both, and that's why I can quite happily flick between the two. In fact, see, I can select some text. Let's select a bit of text, and I can flick between the two, and everything else is relative. And that's because the cursor, the start of the selection and the end of the selection, are stored in text space. So that means that the X position in text space would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 across here, and the Y position in text space would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down from the top left. And that sort of 12 across and 5 down doesn't change, of course, depending on how the font is. But working that out in screen space is a little bit more tricky. Fortunately, in the Pixel Game Engine, I can get the size of a particular string, and I'm trying to use the standard library as much as possible here to sort of leverage the functionality. So what I can work out is, I know that from, I'll just run this again, if I want to get this position in screen space where my cursor is blinking, I can effectively work out the length of that string alone. And I know where this cursor is in text space, so I can use the substring. Let's get rid of this for a second. I can use the substring function here to actually give me that string up until that location in my text cursor, and then I can use the getTextSize function of the Pixel Game Engine to tell me, well, actually, where is that on the screen? Now, screen to text is the other way round, a little bit more fiddly. The Y cursor is easy, it's trivial, right? Because all of my lines are effectively 10 pixels high. That's not a problem. Working where the X cursor is backwards is actually a lot more tricky. So what I need to do is nibble one character at a time from my screen location. So my mouse cursor is somewhere on the screen. I look at the first letter and I subtract that. I look at the second letter, I subtract that. And I do that all the way until I realise that my cursor has gone off the screen or it's at 0. And at that point I know which text character I'm sat next to. So a little bit more involved in doing that. Yeah, a bit trickier. So you can see here I'm basically iterating through the whole string. So every line here, so the Y cursor was easier, vector of strings, which are my lines. The length of the string, I'm iterating through it. I'm going through it character by character. Now, in proportional fonts, they're all returning different values, of course. And if I end up in a situation where I've found the character, I break out of this loop, and that is my text cursor location. Well, let's just quickly catch up with some of the chats here, because I've missed quite a few. Linux has more than one clipboard. Yes, that's one of the reasons I know nothing about it. And very quickly that sort of became apparent. Danderstein was having a look and said, hang on, whoa, it's a complete minefield on Linux. Because I wouldn't mind actually having some clipboard support in the Pixel Game Engine natively. And I was thinking about it. It's actually quite a useful thing to have. The other problem is I've no idea how to do it on Inscripted. Absolutely none at all. So I don't know how easy it is to just roll this thing out. Chocolate and milk, hello. Null alternative, hello. Speedy C, yes, good. Everybody say hi to Speedy. RHK, hi Speedy. Excellent. Keyword highlighting one. Yeah, I think there will be some keyword highlighting because one of my little pet projects that I want to do in sort of my little hiatus is I want to create a 6502 playground. I've created a good 6502 emulator as part of my NES emulation series, but I'd like to play with it slightly differently. So allocating a block of memory to represent the screen, and then just building up the disassembler myself and having sort of this very live, intuitive way of playing with a 6502 machine code. Kit Carson, I'm from Italy. It's late evening now, so it's more difficult for me to follow your streams rather than YouTube videos. Well, all of my YouTube videos are uploaded to the Javid X9 Extra channel. Oh yeah, there we go. Thank you, RHK. Need Morrison to do the inscription. Morrison's is a supermarket chain. So need Morris to do the inscripting part. Yeah, I need some people to do that. Great stream, man. Thank you for the content. Well, you're welcome. You mean Twitch streams or not YouTube videos? No, I'll be doing an actual YouTube video, I think, soon. Right. So, by the by, what we're working with here is sort of these two different spaces. So we've talked about screen to text transformation there. Now that means that once you've got that sort of fundamental thing down, everything you're doing is basically in text space. So that's where I'm really sort of exploiting now the standard library to do things with strings and iterators. So if I type in the character new line, for example, quite a lot goes on when you type in a new line. It's a complicated function. We need to work out which line we're in. Now, if we're in the middle of a line, we need to split that into two lines. So we need to do an insertion there. We need to reposition the cursor. That's quite difficult to do. Now, if we're not typing in a new line, any old character, then we just need to progress the X cursor. And then we need to make sure that the cursor remains on the screen. So that's actually, so these are the interesting corner cases that have been creeping up. It's the usability stuff. If I just move this there. So if I take my cursor and move it off the bottom of the screen, so things like that you take for granted. You always kind of want where you're typing to be visible on the screen. One limitation I have at the moment is I can't hold the key down, which is very frustrating when you're trying to quickly navigate or quickly delete stuff. And if you've got anything selected at the moment, it doesn't do anything. Right? Normally that would disappear. So there's, it's not finished yet, but it's not too bad. But tonight we want to look at clipboard stuff. And I'm going to pull up the clipboard stuff here because the Windows SDK comes with, well, WinAPI, comes with a lot of clipboard manipulation tools. They're not that trivial to use, it turns out. I kind of remember them being, I'm sure it was just shove stuff on clipboard and get it out. Now, the code on there there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's because it tries to build up a complete Microsoft Foundation classes application, and I'm not interested in doing that. In fact, I'm really only interested in about all of this code, maybe 10 lines of it. And I'm going to start rather unusually with the paste function, because copy is more difficult to test than paste, I think. So pasting information from the clipboard, we can have a look at the code that they've provided here, but there's a lot really just checking. The first problem we're going to have is we need to have a handle to the window. Now, the Pixel game engine doesn't expose the handle to the window, so we're going to have to go and grab it. But fortunately, we can use the find window function to do that for us. Then we need to check for something. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. Once we've got the window, we need to look at something called clipboard format. Now, clipboards are very interesting things from a programming perspective because you can shove, well, anything there and read it back, and the applications can be sensitive. So if you, for example, select text in Word or something and then go and paste it in Paint, it doesn't work. But if you go and select an image in Word and paste the image in Paint, it does. So there's some kind of filtering going on an application by application level. And that's facilitated through this is clipboard format available. And there's a load of standard formats built into Windows already. Then we do lots of horrible memory manipulation, and that's where things get a little bit strange, and we'll have a look at how we can deal with that in the Pixel game engine too. So what I'm going to try and get to is a situation where I can just select some text like this and copy it, and we'll paste it into our application at our current cursor location. So let's try that. Let's start writing some code. I need to go and handle the key press. Now, Control and V would be the customary way of pasting things. So I think we'll follow suit. So if get key, C key control, if that's held down, be held. And we press the V key. Now, interestingly, we've got a situation here because I don't want the rest of my this to be sensitive if I've got Control held down. So we'll have to change that a little bit. Control needs to be understood as a command, doesn't it? So let's actually go and position that up here, and we'll filter all of those things out. So if the Control key is held, then we're doing some sort of shortcut. Else, then we're doing all of our normal text manipulation. Because what I don't want to do is Control V, and it actually goes and then injects the character V into the text. I think that ends after all of that. Yes, that ends there. It looks a bit primitive, this, as a way of getting the information into the which key has been pressed. That's because on different operating systems and different platforms, there is no standard for defining what a key is. Also, different countries and different languages have different keyboard layouts, so it gets quite complicated. And the Pixel Game Engine tried to standardize one, much the same way SDL does. It defines its own key code, and then per platform we can remap what that key code means, so the code is consistent across platforms. This does add in some complications in terms of keyboard layout. Now, I've mapped mine currently to a UK keyboard, and again, one of the interesting side effects of this whole experiment is actually localization is going to be a problem. We're going to have to come up with a solution for that too. I'd also needed some of the community additions, so I never added the OEM keys as part of my original development. That's certainly a community-based thing, and they worked out what the rest of the keys were. But there are some symbols which my program simply can't have. And quite frustratingly, one of the symbols I can't have is the British pound symbol there. If I had that somewhere in my text string, I can't display it with my drawString function in the Pixel Game Engine because I don't have a character for the pound symbol. So I've gone back to the sort of American sense, and now we've got this sort of mishmash keyboard layout. Anyway, we'll tidy that up before release, I'm sure. But things to watch out for. Shadow King, hello. Apostolisk, hello. Yes, greetings. What on earth are we doing? Clipboard manipulation. Will you also address the topic of data structures for holding text? It's yes and no. I mean, I just use standard string fundamentally. There's, I mean, yes, kind of. We've been discussing that. I think if I make a video about this, I think I will, because it is interesting in its own right. Then yeah, we'll look at different ways of representing text. Because we're going to find something catches us out later. In macOS, using the clipboard is a bit fiddly because of the media type of the content to be converted, other media types for other apps. Yeah, I've never used a Mac. I really am not familiar with how to develop on Mac. The Mac port of the Pixel Game Engine, the Mac backend, was entirely community developed, so I just have to hope that that works. Doesn't the window title change according to FPA? Magetsub, you don't know your WinAPI good enough. Danderstein, select text in Word, paste as a function pointer. I don't know what that's referring to. Niels Borium, hi Javidex, hope you're doing good. Yeah, I'm doing all right tonight, thank you. Yes, I'm keeping it quiet because there is a sleeping child in the room next to me. Did you change keys to enum class or something? Nope. Nope, keys are still just a regular enum. There's proof. I don't know if it comes out on the stream, but very small. It is just a regular enum. Control shortcuts reminds me of WordStar or Emacs. Implement the WM char message. Yeah. Are we getting to that point? I mean, that's a good argument to have. Should we just have the operating system actually handle which character has been typed? Anyway, maybe. Don't know. Maybe. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for making such informative scatterbrain games. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm doing okay. How annoying is it to do accounting for indenting when pasting code? Very annoying. Very annoying indeed. In fact, yes, so what was this tweet about yesterday? I actually came up with... I'll add this back in just temporarily. Because now I've got my own sort of text rendering engine. Of course, we can finally settle the debate between spaces and tabs. And there we go. Right? This is far better. Right? This is how we should all be coding from now on. Just leave that there for it to sink in for a minute. Chat pause due to scroll. So, indenting, that's so yesterday. I like how the cursor doesn't move. Yeah, the cursor isn't updated with the text, nor is the selection really. The selection is dumb. Interestingly, though, I think no, it doesn't work. Okay, selection just doesn't work at all with wobble mode enabled. But yes, right, spaces or tabs, it doesn't matter, does it, in a setup like this? And it's far more entertaining to try and code. Maybe this is how I should be doing my stream coding from now on. If we get the editor this featureful, right, I'll take that out for the time being, because we're not making any progress with our actual objective tonight, which is often the case for the CodeZone, isn't it? Right, so we've got the Control key pressed. I want to be sensitive to the V key being pressed. Get key. Forgot my own syntax here. Key V dot be pressed. So if the key is pressed, we're going to paste some information. Paste. Good. Wobble mode is brilliant. We like wobble mode. You can use wavy text when you're drunk, so you should be able to see the text one click. Exactly, right? It allows you to code whilst inebriated. Demo scene text editor. Yeah, we just need everything to be changing colours at the same time as well. And have some raycast spheres going on in the background too. Right, so we're going to paste stuff. So let's have a look at the Windows code for what it is that we need to do. Well, the first thing we need to do is actually get a handle to the window, because if we're going to open the clipboard, we need to get a window to... for some reason, the clipboard needs to be associated with an active window going on. Now, the window in Pixel Game Engine isn't readily available. I don't expose it. Maybe I should have done, but then it's different on different platforms. And the idea is that this bit in Pixel Game Engine user land should be as cross-platform as it possibly can. So there is a caveat here. All of this is purely just for Windows at this moment. And on Windows is represented by an hwind type. All of these are just numbers, right? They're just a number into some operating system meaningful thing. And I'm going to use the function findWindow. Now, we have something called a class name and a window name. The window name, as Magetsub has rightly pointed out, rather ignorantly I should point out, Magetsub, is actually going to be changing because the frames per second is always part of the title in Pixel Game Engine. But when Pixel Game Engine creates a window, it also registers the class name. Now, I have a little macro here called OLCT, which does some Unicode trickery if necessary. And I've already forgotten what the macro name actually is. Let's have a look. I'm just looking through the Pixel Game Engine header source here. It is... Okay, I'll just copy that. So it's this OLC Pixel Game Engine. No, it's rather convenient, isn't it? Now, if you specify null pointer as the second argument there, it will only look for an application with the class name. You see. And far more useful. And that will give me the window that represents the OpenGL window that fundamentally is the Pixel Game Engine window. So a quick tip for those who have been struggling to try and get the Hwind, because I know MegaRev and a few others were struggling with something to do with trying to get hold of the Hwind, and they were passing pointers around and doing all sorts of strange manipulations. But that's the actual answer there. Let's do it right. Well, you can't use that when you have multiple windows open. That's true. I suppose that's where you would start to then specify with a secondary parameter. Ah, excellent. My Amazon parcel is arriving. Excellent. Good stuff. Ah, thank you, Dragoneye. Yes, there we go. Yes, we have a link to the Discord server. There's about 13,000 people on the Discord server now. It's quite popular. There's only about maybe 500 active at most. And that's a stretch, I would imagine. Code Jam. Yes, the Code Jam is still going. The Fudge's Hwind. Oh, you see, that's the thing, Alex. We're now in Windows WinAPI land. We should probably put some guards around this to sort of say we are in WinAPI land right now for these functions. So once I've got an Hwind, then I want to open the clipboard. So open clipboard. And I can pass in my Hwind. There we go. This will return something I can check to see did it actually open. Yes, it returns the nasty, rather nasty capitals bool from the, again, WinAPI land. I wouldn't recommend taking your children to WinAPI land if you can help it. Just I was thinking that PGE could have sub-windows that you could drag outside from PGE applications. So once we've opened the clipboard, let's go and have a look. So we want to make sure that we've got some text available. So I'm basically going to have this function. Let's copy that directly. If I've opened my clipboard, does the clipboard contain any text? And I'm not going to do what they're doing, return early. I'm just going to say if it's true, if it does contain some text, then I want to try and grab that text from the clipboard. Now, to get stuff from the clipboard, I have to create another handle to the data itself. So the operating system is obviously maintaining the clipboard for me. That's nothing I have access to. If I say clipboard, please give me some data, all it can do is give me a pointer to some memory. And that's effectively what happens here. I can get the pointer to the memory, and then I'm going to choose to lock that pointer. And that's where things get a little bit disgusting. And maybe complicated too, certainly beyond sort of my understanding, naively beyond this, this format of text. And once we've copied the information we want, after we've locked it globally, we can close the clipboard again. The thing to remember is these functions, these are defined by the windows.h file. So they're not part of the standard library at all. And that's why they kind of exist in my program, even though you see I've not really included anything. The Pixel Game Engine has included Windows behind the scenes. And these functions, they sort of tie directly into the operating system. Windows works in a very strange way. It doesn't really work with classes and objects beyond structs. So you can exchange information with the operating system by giving it a struct, and the operating system will populate that struct with the relevant info. That's a very common pattern you'll see across the WinAPI. And it also works with pointers quite a bit. But pointers in the terms of handles, so these are more numerical indices. They probably are genuine memory pointers, to be fair, but they could be some sort of abstract index into whatever object dictionary is maintained by the operating system. Windows always does that. Takes a bit of getting used to. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Magetsu, is perhaps we should have copy and paste as fundamentals as part of the platform. What is the difference between a struct and class? Well, nothing anymore. Originally, structs were associated with just simple types of data, and classes could have functions, methods that operate upon that data. But to the C++ compiler, there is no difference at all anymore, except structs have default public access, and classes have private default access. That's the only difference. Right, what we're doing is clipboard format available. Well, hopefully it was. So the next thing to do was to get some, they call it handglob, which is a type of hglobal. I have no idea what a global is, so let's go and see what get clipboard data actually returns. So get clipboard data, cf text. What do you return? Well, by the magic of IntelliSense, it returns yet another handle. So I'm going to have hdata equals that. Very good. Let's have a mouthful of tea. I would be very surprised if there wasn't a cross-platform API for primitive clipboard stuff. It presumably does exist. I mean, things like WX Widgets has cross-platform clipboard capabilities, so it must kind of exist. I just don't know how it's done on Linux at all. Right. So what was the next one we needed to do? Once we've got the once we've locked it. Now, no, we've got the data. What we need to do now is lock that pointer that was returned. Now they just immediately set some string to that data. Now, that sounds a bit nasty to me, because how do we know where the string actually ends? What if it wasn't just text? What if it's something more complicated? And I don't have the answer. We'd have to read a bit more documentation. Fortunately, strings typically have an ending point. Fingers crossed that they have an ending point. So we can just set some pointer here to the string. We're going to do things a little bit differently, I think, just to make it a bit more clear. But let's make sure that we can actually continue by making sure that hdata is not null. I'm going to be explicit here so we can actually see what's going on. You wouldn't normally have to sort of do that test. So if there is some clipboard data there that contains the type of text, then I want to lock that data. So global lock tells the operating system, right, you go and lock whatever this pointer is pointing at. I don't know how that works. I don't know what it does behind the scenes, but it does something rather miraculous. It's going to, in our case, lock the string that's represented by this text object on the clipboard. But I'm not using sort of regular, well, old school character strings anywhere in my application. I don't want to. I want to use standard string instead. So I'm going to do something rather horrible. I'm going to use a void star here, and we'll put void star v equals global lock. So whatever this mess is returning, in fact, it actually returns a void star. There we go. It's actually part of the WinAPI there. And I'm going to make sure that that has actually locked by checking that v itself is not equal to null pointer. And under the assumption that the v is pointing to a regular character string somewhere in the operating system's bowels, then I can probably create a regular standard string out of it, call it s, and use one of its constructors, which is simply to pass in a character string array. Now, of course, it's void star at the moment, so we'll need to cast that. So that should, in effect, create a standard string out of the data, whatever that thing points at. Well, that's all very well and good. We should probably at some point also close our clipboard. So we only need to do that if we've opened it at all. So, have we all collectively thrown up all over the Twitch chat? Yes, yes we have. Run for your lives, yeah. Triggering the C++ guys. So yeah, it's a different world when you start digging into the WinAPI. But you've got to remember, the WinAPI, these things have been around since the dawn of, well, time almost. I don't know if do they have sort of etymological information on, is that the right word? Don't know. Difficult to know. It doesn't sort of say first added to the system in 1991 or something like that. Jack and I likes it, and he's a Linux user, so there we go. So we can check this. So let's see what's going on. Now I'm going to grab some text here, and I'm going to copy that text into our buffer. Now, I'm now going to, we'll start here. I'm going to run Control and F10 to that line. So we're going to use the debugger to sort of analyze what's going on before we continue. Just make sure things are kind of working. So I'm going to place my cursor anywhere, and I'm going to hold down Control and press V. Excellent, so at least we're trying to paste. So I press F10, our hwind got populated with a value. I'm going to assume it is the correct value. Can we open the clipboard for that hwind? Yes, we can. Is there some text data available? Well, hopefully there is, because we copied some text previously. There is, excellent. Let's grab a pointer to that data. Well, the pointer value got populated, so that's encouraging. Now we're going to do this global lock. So the pointer we're passing in is this 0130, and global lock is going to return, well, 0130. It actually returns the same thing. I imagine it returns null pointer if it can't lock it. So at this point, I'm now creating my string, S. There we go. Maybe you can't actually, let me just pop this window out the way. Maybe you can't actually see that on the stream, but it is actually the code that we highlighted before. But there's a problem. This code contains characters that I've not handled in any sensible way in the Pixel game engine. It contains /r. So /n is a new line, we know how to deal with that. /t is a tab, we know how to deal with that. /r, nothing actually deals with that at all. So I want to remove all of the /r's from my string here before we do anything else with it. What will happen, just in case, I'll show you what will happen. If I press Control, I need to actually select some text, do I? Oh, it's not doing anything because we're not actually doing anything with the text at the moment. Let's type the text in. So to type the text in, I have a function in my library of functions here. Where is it? Type character. So type character, it allows me to inject one character at a time at the location of the text cursor, and we'll manipulate the text cursor on the screen accordingly. So I'm going to iterate through all of the characters in my string and call type character on it. So that would be const auto C. I don't need to make it a reference in this case. There's no point. It's a single character, and that's going to be of my string. There we go. And for all of the C's, I'm going to type character mv cursor, which is my current text cursor, and the character itself. So that's going to iterate through the string and type all of the characters into that location. But these /r's are going to cause us some trouble because there's nothing in the Pixel game engine understands what a /r is. Let's try that again. So I hold down Control and V. There we go. Vector subscript out of range. Now we can go retry to debug the application, go and have a look at what's going on. Yeah, it's failed in drawString prop because it just doesn't know what to do when it encounters that /r character. It uses that character to index an array, well, a vector, somewhere in the depths of the Pixel game engine, and there just simply isn't an entry for it. So I'm going to strip all of the /r's out of the text. /n is good enough for me. Where have we got? Have a look. Lost where I was coding. Here we go. So to remove all of the /r's, I'm going to use the erase remove paradigm. Is it paradigm? Is that what it's called? Erase remove paradigm? Don't know. So it's a standard remove. S is our string dot begin. So start at the beginning. Oh, hang on. Start at the beginning of our string, then go to the end of our string and remove anything which looks like a /r. But I need to do more than remove it. I actually need to erase it, and rather confusingly, that's also done from the container itself. So we start from the beginning. We actually don't start from the beginning, do we? We start from the removed iterator. So this remove function returns an iterator which acts as the beginning of the data that it's going to start removing, and then I want to move that to the end. I think that's it. And so that should now remove all of these /r characters from our string. Let's catch up with the chat. We do check. We do check for the type of the data. Yes. Carriage return and line feed. Yep. Just a fast replace filter. Well, I've kind of done that. It's a one-liner, right? That'll remove all of the /r's. Oh, later, TGD. I saw the text editor on Twitter and Discord. What's the plan for this? Is it part of Space Thing? It's kind of part of Space Thing. Space Thing is going to make use of the GUI PegX that I've been working on, and I'm up to the point now where I need functional text manipulation in my GUI for text boxes, single line ones, but also toying with the idea of allowing us to sort of script within the game itself. So there's some sort of plan starting to form here, and I got carried away with text editing because I can now only code for maybe 45 minutes a day, something like that, if I'm lucky. I've sort of been throwing together these little user tools instead. Wouldn't a string stream avoid a second iteration over the char star? String stream, second iteration. Well, whether it's a stream or not, still need to iterate over it to type the individual characters. Well, let's see if this is working out. So I'm going to copy that. I've just done Control and C there. I'm copying that into the Windows clipboard. Let's just see if it works. I'm going to position my cursor somewhere, Control and V, ta-da! There we go, that's nice. So I can also, let's grab some text from the Twitch chat there, Control and C, and go down here, Control, that's interesting. So what character have we used on the Twitch chat that I can't render? That's interesting. Oh, I think it's probably that little apostrophe there. Let's try a different bit of text. We should abort and rerun. Let's have a look. So, could you iterate V until you find null pointer? This is where we're going to start finding all of these interesting sort of Unicode problems. There we are. Could you iterate V until you find null pointers? That works. So TGD, your message has an interesting character in it which I can't display at the moment. This is probably all pointing towards I need some sort of checking on which characters the Pixel Game Engine can actually draw. It can't draw everything that we're accustomed to using anymore. If you iterate V and not use a string, wouldn't that work more efficiently? Well, I mean, what is efficiently in this sense? Because it's not grossly inefficient as it is, right? Good, so we can paste at least, and I'm guessing now if I go over here and I can grab some code, we can paste, we can go anywhere in here, Control and V, Control and V, Control and V. Oh, we've got a nice easy way of getting data now into the text renderer. Excellent. So that was a problem before because I had no means of actually getting any text in other than typing it in. So the next step, I guess, is the opposite. We want to try and copy some data. And this is all a little bit unknown too. So let's go and have a look at the WinAPI for copying the data. So following is the edit copy function. We want to open the clipboard again. We want to, just looking for the interesting functions. Okay, allocate a global memory object for the text. So we call that, okay. And then we lock that memory, that makes sense, and then we copy our string into it. Then we've got to do something like setting the null character. Okay, yeah, we'll have to do that, I suppose, because we're basically turning our standard string into a old school style string, and then it's just set clipboard data. Okay, well, let's work our way through that. Try to paste this. I hope that doesn't say anything offensive, Alex. I know it won't, because Alex is a very nice guy. He won't say anything offensive. Better not say anything offensive. So we want to be kind of sensitive now to the Control-C operation, don't we? So Control and C. And we should be able to paste from our text app into other applications as well, which is also pretty cool, without /r's and things like that. Don't know whether they'll have time tonight, but the multi-line aspect to this is going to be more complicated. We'll take it one step at a time. So I guess we need to do the same sort of thing. So let's grab, first of all, our hwind. Let's open the clipboard, and I don't think we need to check for the is this available anymore, because we're going to actually put something there instead. Unless that means, does the clipboard understand this information? Let's go and have a look at the example. Were they doing a check for the type of data? See, they're not really checking to see if that particular type of data can be put there. So I won't either for the time being. So the next step is, it's got all of this MFC application rubbish that's making a mess of it. Empty the clipboard. So I guess if there is something there, we want to remove it. Okay. Empty clipboard. Good old IntelliSense. It's actually getting a bit smarter. Have you noticed how it knows I'm doing clipboard stuff now? And so it puts little stars next to the functions that it needs. We'll empty the clipboard. And then we want to globally allocate some memory. Right, so gmem movable cch +1. I'm guessing this is some selected text, and the +1 will be because we've got to add the null character, I think, or something like that. And, I'm just going to stick this on my other window so I can just go through these bits one at a time. So we'll create another global alloc in this case, and the type is, I think it's just, I don't know, I don't actually know what the type of global alloc is. Not a function I use very often. Global alloc, what do you return? Global again, whatever that means. Handle hglob. Global alloc, it says gmem movable. So I'm guessing these are just access parameters, so the operating system knows how to handle certain aspects of the memory we stick in there. I don't know. And then the size in bytes. Well, that's a bit trickier. So the size in bytes is going to be what we've got selected. Now, how do we handle what we've got selected? I've got two cursors. I'm going to, for now, just work with a single line, because I think we'll run out of time before we can handle multi-line stuff. So let's do int 32t n size, which is the size of the selection, and I'm going to assume, we're going to make a dirty hack assumption here that my selection is going to exist between m n selection, is it? What did I call it? mv n selection dot x minus mv start selection dot x. And I'm going to take the absolute of that. So that should represent the size of the string that I'm trying to copy. These are cursors in text cursor space. Did you global unlock the paste? Oh, that's a good point. Thank you very much. Yes. We do need to global unlock the paste, don't we? Global unlock. Yes. We'll pass in our... Which one do we put in? Global unlock is passing in the global... Okay, it's the same as the one we pass into global lock, so hdata. There we go. Thank you for that, Dragonite. That's a good point, because that probably could actually cause some real problems if you do lock that memory and never let any other applications have a handle to it. It didn't seem to cause us any problems, but better be safe than sorry. Right, so we're globally allocating, and the size is going to be that. Okay, let's pull back our documentation again. Copying to the clipboard. So now once we've locked this, it's then copying into that pointer our data. Okay. So global alloc has allocated it. We now need to lock it. So let's try that again. So this is now a... I don't like the fact it is void star, but we'll keep it as void star. Equals global lock hglob. And if v, I'm guessing, is not equal to null pointer, then we can copy our thing over. Now we'll just do exactly the same here. Global unlock hglob. But I now need to copy into this the contents of the string between those two lines. Now that string is represented on in my line vector, so that's where I'm going to get that information from to begin with. So mv lines, and we're assuming the selection is just going to be on the same line because I have not enough time to go through multiple lines at the moment. So we'll go off mv start selection dot y. So for the given line where the start of my selection is, I want to I'm just going to get dot the C string for that at mv start selection dot x. So that's where my data is going to begin. So now we want to mem copy that into our void star. That's our source, and our destination is our end size. I think that's how it's all going to work. That will be yes, address of. So those of you new to C++ will be looking at that and going, well, what's all that about? This is a vector of standard strings. I choose a standard string based on its position on the screen. Then I cast it to an old school C type string in the background, and I index that string like an array, because you can do that. And then I'm copying that information into the memory I've just locked. Now that does the first one. Then I need to add a terminating character to it, don't I? So I guess I also need to do v n size take 1, because I need to also make this 1 larger, right? To include my terminating character, n size take 1 equals /0. Whew, right. Is that going? Oh, that's not going to work. We need to cast that to this. Oh, it's getting fun, isn't it? There we go. Wow. Should be proud of code like this, huh? So I'm just catching up with the chats when I go quiet like this. Maybe missing +1. Yep, we covered that after a disco, but thank you. If you join the lines with RN, that's going to be a problem on other platforms too. Hello stream, what is happening today? Desk before, well, we've only a few minutes left, but we've been playing with the clipboard. Yeah, I'm making an assumption with the global lock that had it failed, then there's probably no need to actually call the unlock. Using WinAPI closes all possibility of cross-platform. Yes, there is nothing cross-platform about what we're doing today. N size should be 1. Oh, we've done that. So, Javid, there is a video called Over-Engineering the Code. Win32 API sounds well. It's all pretty lovely, isn't it? So I've no idea whether that's worked or not. What was the next thing we needed to do? Because there was one final thing, was we had to actually so we unlock and then we set clipboard data. I'm just going to copy that from there. So once all that has happened, I guess we set the clipboard data and we pass in hglob, right? Right, okay. Let's just see if it compiles first. You could have used standard copy and used string iterators, but that's none of my business. No need to subtract the -1. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, apostolisk. Yes. Yeah. That's quite right, because we artificially inflated it on that one, didn't we? Yeah. Right. Okay. That's built up. Okay. Oh, no idea. Danderstein says line 189 still has an issue. Maybe. Was it the -1 though in the end? Don't know. We'll see. Anyway, it looks like it compiles. So how are we going to test this? Okay. Right. Now, we're doing this very, very primitively. There are a lot of restrictions I can't do. So I can only select text. I'm going to select... I'm not going to go even to the end of the line, just in case. So on one line, Control and C. Don't know if that's worked, but I'm going to go now to Visual Studio and do Control and V. Oh, nothing happened. Nothing happened. We've missed something. If I do Control and V in my... Oh, if I do Control and V in my own application, that's working all right. Copy. Paste. Interesting. That's very interesting. But Visual Studio... Oh, no. Oh, maybe I just didn't press hard enough. Yeah, okay. There we go. I'm just trying another text editor up here. Yeah, no, that's fine. And I'll try in the Twitch chat. Yeah, don't know what that was. Yeah, not so sure. Maybe something actually failed and we did get the logic was all backwards and incorrect. Something like that. It maybe only worked on the second time around. But, primitively, and rather disgustingly, we've now added copy and paste facility, albeit very with some caveats for now, to the text editor. So let's boot that back up. Let's have a look. So I quite like that line. Control and C, Control and V. Yeah, like it. What about global free, or is there such a function? That's a good point. So, well, I guess empty clipboard is probably doing something like that, right? I should also probably close the clipboard again, which we've not been doing. Close clipboard. Yeah, that's a good point. What does the documentation do about the allocation? So the memory was allocated. I'm guessing Windows has to handle it because you don't know which application is going to unallocate the memory. Right? It could be any other application that wants to erase the clipboard, not necessarily yours. That's an interesting thing to think about. On line 188, C-string already returns a null terminated array. Yeah, it needs the size +1. Okay, yeah, okay, you're right though. It does actually return a null terminated array. Ah, well. King Pepsalt. Well, I think that's yo, but unfortunately, we've kind of reached the end of the show today. And I know it's unusual for me to do it on a Monday. Say personal circumstances have dictated that tomorrow night I'm not available. But we have now got functioning copy and paste, but not just within our application, but across all Windows applications regarding text. Looks like there's still some bugs to work out, and I need to go away and make the code a bit prettier. And of course, we need some sort of Linux alternative for this as well, which I don't know where to even begin with. Multi-line next week, maybe. Is this on GitHub? No, this isn't on GitHub just yet. Easy now 111. Thank you very much. But that is it for today. I've got quite a few to upload to the YouTube Extra channel. I think there's about 4 that I've not uploaded. Well, actually, I've uploaded. I've just not released to the public yet. And I'll be releasing those one by one over the next day or two. So until then, come and have a chat on the Discord server, and I'll see you later. Take care.